And behind us, of course, is the nation's capital, where the center of right now, the center of the world, isn't it? I mean, everything depends on what is decided there. Does it really matter what Iran does? I don't think so. I don't think so. If Iran agrees to the terms that were laid out and the 15 points that the president laid out, maybe we have an agreement. If Iran doesn't, there won't be a regime anymore. I know he's not saying that, but that has to be the natural effect of taking out all their energy. Mm-hmm. Well, before we get to that, the Supreme Court on Tuesday listened to another important case. They had listened to one on Monday as well. And this case was about something that something that I had a great deal of experience with when I was Associate Attorney General of the United States. It's called metering, or sometimes there's another term. I think this is a better term. I think they used it. Well, metering is the one that is basically the concept. What this means is the law says that anybody who has arrived in the United States has to be given an opportunity, if they claim it, to make a claim of asylum, and then it has to be decided. And they have to be within the United States. They have to arrive in the United States. If they arrive in the United States, they must be allowed to apply for asylum. If they're intercepted elsewhere, like interviewed before about coming into the United States, they do not have to be granted that asylum. So when that started to be abused, and it was abused because to get asylum, you have to be in realistic fear of death or persecution for political reasons. If you are returned to your country, you can't be coming here, horrible though it seems, if you're just starving and you don't have a job and you don't have food and your children are dying and you're dying and all that. None of that gives you a right to come in the United States. Sounds terrible, doesn't it? But I want you to think about it for a moment. A third of the world is like that. A third of China is like that. They don't like to tell you that. And it's one of the reasons why when you compare the United States and China, it's a false comparison and almost one you can't make. However, if your reason for coming here is you want to improve your situation, dire though it is, economically, socially, health-wise, or anything else, you have no right to claim asylum. You might be able to try other things, some kind of humanitarian exception or whatever, but the law only allows this one. And you have to have arrived in the United States. So when the Biden administration, or even some before, would just let everybody assert asylum. In fact, they would be given cards to say, I'm going to be persecuted if I go back. I'm going to be persecuted if I go back. I'm going to be persecuted if I go back. I'm going to be persecuted if I go back. Immediately, you have to allow them in, schedule them for a hearing, and you can incarcerate them until the hearing. However, when the hearing started to get backed up and you had 300,000 or 400,000 of these, yes, 300,000 or 400,000 of these, this is what Biden was doing. He would let them in and he scheduled them for a hearing in, 2030 or 2027 or depending on the year, 2 years later, 3 years later. And then they farm them out all over the United States. And that was a big source, maybe somewhere approaching half of the source of the illegal immigrants that came into the United States. At some point, the numbers were so great, nobody even bothered to claim for us. They just gave it to them. So the government came up with the idea of placing immigration agents outside the border on the Mexican side. We actually initiated it in the Reagan administration. That people were coming in from Haiti in large numbers, hundreds of thousands. They were coming on rickety boats, being extorted and shook down by captains of ships and whatever for all their life savings. They take them to Florida, claim they had a job, claim they had a home, and then just dump them off in Fort Lauderdale or Miami or wherever. Every once in a while, one of these rickety boats in the choppy seas between Port-au-Prince, Haiti, and Fort Lauderdale, let's say, would go under, and the bodies would show up on the shores of Fort Lauderdale. 40 bodies, 50 bodies, 60 bodies. Maybe that happened once every 2 months. I came into office and we inherited that from the inept Carter administration, as well as the Mario Boatlift, which I also had to handle. And we came up with the concept of doing the asylum hearings in Port-au-Prince on a Coast Guard cutter. So we stopped the ships before they headed across the dangerous sea. And we had immigration judges and officers there, and we held the hearings there. We could have just turned them back there. Didn't have to give them a hearing, but we did. And something like 2 or 3 or 4%, maybe more, 5%, would be granted asylum. The rest would be sent back into Haiti. I negotiated that, argued that in the courts of appeal, and it helped to establish. It was the first time we had really done that. So the argument in the Supreme Court, it was also called the turn back policy. That's what I was thinking about. That's what the Trump administration called it in 2018. They would stop you before you came in and turn you back. So-called the metering policy. And so a number of these people have been turned back, and they brought a case against the government. And of course, they won in the lower courts. Of course, right? Liberal judges said, yeah, you don't have to be in the United States. Just in the law. What does the law mean? Don't we, the judges, write the law? Gee, I don't know. That's what we were told at Harvard Law School. We write the law. Yeah, it says you have to be in the United States. But you're close enough. 4 miles, 5 miles, 100 miles, 200 miles, 1,000 miles. You're close enough. You're in an embassy. You're in the United States. Well, the argument before the Supreme Court yesterday sounded like the chief posed a hypothetical question. He asked whether only the first person in line arrives in the country and those in the back of the line do not. Maybe I just don't understand it. It depends kind of on how long the line is. Well, of course, if they're not over the line, they're not in the United States. It's a simple, what we call a bright line test. Justice Gorsuch wanted to know from the attorney for the aliens. They call them migrants, but the law actually calls them aliens. I don't know why in the Supreme Court you call them migrants if the law calls them aliens. We're afraid of the word. Justice Gorsuch wanted to know if they're on top of the border wall and haven't gotten over it yet. Have they arrived in the United States? Is the top of the border wall in the United States or not? Trying to, and it looks like there are 5 and possibly 6 votes to affirm the turn back policy of the Trump administration, which will help keep out a very, very large number of the people who came in. Now, the asylum claims here that they used in the argument for the court, when they are heard, like in 2016, 150,000 migrants attempted to enter the United States, a 70% increase. So what percentage get granted? Nowadays, it used to be 3. I think it's about 5%. So 5% ultimately turn out to be valid claims of asylum. Yet 300,000 people are let in. So that's why you have the metering policy. And when it's upheld, it could possibly prevent, for example, what happened in Chicago. This was the completely insane, brutal killing of Sheridan Gorman, 18-year-old co-ed who was from Yorktown, New York. She was with her friends at Chicago's Toby Prince Beach. She wanted to see the Northern Lights. They were returning, and they saw someone approach them, and they got frightened. They ran, and he pulled out a gun and shot her in the brain and killed her. There she is. That's Sheridan, beautiful young lady with a great future. She was killed by one of these people that came in the way I just told you. So put some real life situation in that Supreme Court argument. Jose Medina. Where from? Of course, Venezuela, right? He was sneaking over the border in 2023. He was let in under the Biden administration catch and release program. Now, the only way he could be let in is if they came up with some phony claim of asylum. Mm-hmm. And so they let him in, put him down for a date 3 years from now, and then he went and wandered all around the place. And then he committed some crimes in Chicago, and the sanctuary laws of Chicago accomplished 2 things. Since they don't really prosecute criminals in Chicago, he never really went to jail, but nobody ever notified ICE about his being here illegally now. And because they didn't notify ICE, this girl will never have a future. Thank you, Joe Biden, and all the Democrats who are attacking ICE. And thank you, ICE, because by what you do, you prevent more of that from happening. It's a tragedy. It's a tragedy. These people are crazy. Now, do you want to hear a really crazy one? Listen to the Chicago alder woman who is describing, this wise ass, is describing this horrible tragedy involving this beautiful young lady. This Chicago alder woman, Maria Hayden, is typical of a city that has 70 years been in the control of Democrats. And each weekend is, let's see how many black people can get killed. And the black politicians of Chicago
doing normal
shit about it. Here is the older woman.
They go out on the pier, they walk around. So the kids were out doing normal things people do in the neighborhood. And it sounds like this might have been a wrong place, wrong time, running into a person who had a gun. They might have startled this person at the end of the pier unintentionally. But that's all the time, right? And they go out on the pier, they walk around. So that
Jose Medina, poor guy. He was on the pier just walking around with his gun. And this young lady Oh, doesn't she look scary? I mean, she looks really dangerous, doesn't she? She startled poor Jose Medina, who is a several times arrested criminal as well as an illegal alien from Venezuela. Doesn't belong here. I mean, we got enough problems of our own in Chicago. We got to bring guys like this in. This young lady would be alive today if it weren't for Joe Biden and the Democrats and this policy, both policies. The not really applying the metering policy we told you about, the one that we used with Haiti and that was used to great effect by the Trump people, and then second, by covering up and not reporting to ICE or to the federal government the fact that he was here, which I think is a crime. I think the mayor should go to jail. Whoever the mayor was then, I think it's the one, it's the crazy one that looked like she put a finger in a socket, right?
Yep.
The one who was running around getting her hair fixed when nobody else in Chicago could get their hair fixed.
Yeah.
Lighthead, right?
Yep.
Mayor Lightfoot. Oh, Lighthead?
Yeah. Lightfoot.
Lightfoot. Wasn't Lighthead? You sure?
You know, you would think. It makes you think.
Remember when she forbid everybody from going out and they couldn't, she closed down all the beauty shops and and then at 4 or 5 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon, she gets in her limo, her mayoral limo. She gets driven. They open it up. They open the beauty shop for her. Now, I don't know. She could have, if she didn't get caught, nobody would have known that she went to the beauty shop because she sure as hell looked like somebody who never went to a beauty shop. But
right
now, this mayor, the one now, is worse. This is like de Blasio and the comrade and the comrade.
Right.
This guy fits the description of who said to us that Chicago just goes and picks the dumbest person in Chicago and makes them mayor. Who told us that?
Rob Schmidt.
Was that Rob?
Yeah. Rob Schmidt.
Oh, Rob Schmidt. Yeah, that's right. That's right. On Newsmax. That's one of the great expressions. So let's, as you'll find out in a little while, this is my father's birthday. My father died in 1981, so he's been gone for quite some time. But he was born on March 25, 1908, here in America, on the Lower East Side. So I'm going to join. I'm going to join these prayers. Maybe I should pray to my father for the repose of the soul of Sheridan Gorman, 18, who never had to die, and for whom the protesters should be protesting. The protesters should be protesting for the government to have more ICE agents, to give them more powers, and they should be protesting against governors like Fatso Pritzker and dummy mayor. What's the present mayor?
Brandon Johnson.
The dumbest man in Chicago, who are obstructing law and getting girls like Sheridan Gordon killed. Didn't have to happen. So, dear God, please pray for the repose of the soul of Sheridan Gorman and bring her into your kingdom. And help us. Help us find the ways to prevent this in the future. And help give strength to the ICE agents who are persecuted for just trying to save lives like this. Well, you know, the ICE agents are finally getting some good publicity, Ted. So because they've done away, not done away with, they're not paying TSA.
Right.
And TSA people make something like, I think the average salary is about $50,000 a year, Ted.
Yeah.
So they're not able to go without a paycheck. And they're down like 20-30% at these airports.
Right.
So they've put TSA in, and TSA is doing a great job.
That's what we're hearing.
And a lot of people are saying wonderful things about TSA. Maybe we should leave them there for a while. They deserve, in a democracy, which we're going to point out a little later, a point made by a columnist. In a democracy, as Abraham Lincoln said, public support is absolutely necessary. We are at some point. You don't have to have it immediately. Sometimes you got to build it. But these agents deserve to have public support. They're saving your lives. They're putting their lives at risk, and they're being persecuted left and right for what they're doing. So
They're yeah.
now there they are. There they are, right there. Which airport is that? Do we know? Chicago?
This, yeah, New York.
That's New York. Okay. So, I mean, among other things, with the crowds like this, it really gives people a sense of security, and also with the threat hanging over us of some kind of terrorist incident. How do the Democrats justify not funding these critical law enforcement agencies at a time of peril to the United States of America and its people?
We just saw the accident in New York, which may have been at least tied to overworked airport personnel.
Well, you saw Schumer before. I don't know. I was on the other show, but boy, did he sound. Maybe we'll get a chance to play it here a little later.
Yeah.
So let me face you with the following facts. We'll take a break. We'll get my son Andrew on, who is in charge of security for the World Cup. In the Department of Homeland Security. I'm not sure if he's being paid or not. I know he's working 24 hours a day.
He's working. Either way, he's working.
Well, in any event, I just want to lay out a few of these issues for you. The president has reiterated today that we are in active negotiations with the Reign of Terror. We're not naming the person, so a bomb isn't put on his head, I guess. We are adding, at their request, J.D. Vance to the group. Now, let me be fair, that isn't correct. The statement in the Guardian newspaper yesterday was that Iran was unhappy with the trio that the president had given them, meaning Marco Rubio, Steve Witkoff, and Jared Kushner. They were being too harsh, too difficult, and they preferred J.D. Vance because J.D. Vance had skepticism at some point about a war against Iran. So that's why J.D. Vance was added. The White House has said that J.D. Vance has been part of this from the very beginning, and there is no change in policy. So those are the two statements. There are statements like this about everything. Trump said he was given a gift. The gift has to do with, it sounds like the Strait of Hormuz. They say they didn't. He says they're close on negotiations, that they're active negotiations, that Iran called for them. Iran said they're not negotiating. He's laid out 15 points. These are an expansion of the same points that were made before the war started, that Iran refused. Iran has and he's put them in a 15-point plan. I think they've been turned over. I don't know to whom. Sounds like this is being done through the Pakistanis. That's what it sounds like. The Prime Minister of Pakistan has offered to hold a conference, but Iran has turned it down so far. At the same time that that's going on, the war is about as active as it ever has been. Today, there were something like 40 missions flown by the U.S. and Israel. They did tremendous damage to a number of their nuclear plants and their missile plants. They hit very, very hard the area in the middle of Iran, where most of them are located. They also hit the outlying area of Tehran, maybe 15, 20 times. There, I don't think they were going after missiles. I think they're going after IRGC and reign of terror ministers. And we have 3,000 of the U.S. Army's elite 82nd Airborne Division that are going to be deployed there, or are being deployed there. Now, this is a group that is equivalent to a special. I think they are a special force. They're equivalent to special force. This is a real fighting group, as are all the Marines, obviously. So now, pretty soon, maybe by Friday, you're going to have in the Middle East our best paratroopers, probably the best in the world, trained murderers, in the right sense. And then you're going to have the best amphibious soldiers that ever existed, who began by fighting Muslims, by the way, from the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli, the Marines. So we have the best amphibious fighting force that the world has ever known, the best paratroopers the world has ever known. Are they going there for a vacation? It's a lot of money to move those guys. The Marines have been waiting a long time. They're starting to get itchy. Remember watching the movies about D-Day being postponed so often? I don't know if you remember The Longest Day, or you read any of the books. I mean, I remember reading Cornelius Ryan's book and then watching it. By the way, that movie is one of the best recreations of a book that I've ever seen. I mean, it really is good. And for a movie that used great stars throughout, you would think it wouldn't have coherence, but it does. They do such a great job. I think it was a patriotic duty to do it right. Well, we're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we're going to have the guy who's in charge of security for the World Cup that's coming up in probably in your city. So we'll be right back. U.S. Army Major Scott Smiley paid a high price serving our nation. Scott was leading his platoon in Iraq when a blast sent shrapnel through his eyes, leaving him blind and temporarily paralyzed. Scott would become the first blind active duty military officer before medically retiring years later. Thanks to friends like you, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation gave Scott and his family a mortgage-free, specially adapted smart home. Show your support for America's heroes now. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at t2t.org. Here we are, pretty much at the beginning of the process here at this pristine, I call it a laboratory. It's not like a factory, it's like a hospital. This is the beginning of the process for roasting. Deep grain, very good quality. Most people don't use this quality. We deal with small farmers because we like to know who we're dealing with. They give us the highest quality, all organic, non-GMO. You should know all Arabica beans, no Robusto, all Arabica. They're going to go into the roaster, and it'll get roasted for about 20 minutes or so. Oh my goodness, look at these. My goodness. You're going to want to specially order these. This is what goes into Rudy's coffee.
Are you ready for some action?
I'm ready for action.
Get the Elite TV plan only through the portal. 218 channels, and it's only $69.95 a month,
Wow.
including your free portal.
That's cheaper than everyone else.
Your favorite sports, movies, news,
Wow.
even daytime dramas. We're talking about ESPN, OAN, Newsmax,
Wow.
channels you can't get anymore in certain areas.
Compared to the competition, this is a way better deal.
Endless selection. Not to mention all the free music channels. There's over 700 premium and classic movies all ready to go.
Wow.
Plus, they got catch-up TV that allows you to go back and watch what you've missed or want to watch again. Cut your cable in half and get twice as much for free.
Way more channels for half the cost.
After the first year, the subscription then drops to $57.95 monthly,
Wow.
where you change or upgrade anytime. Go to QUXNow.com and get yours today. Use promo code RUDY. Act fast. These deals are selling out.
Well, welcome back. And how did you do that, Ted?
You saw me messing around back here while we
You
were
got
going.
Yankee Stadium behind me. Look at that. Well, they're not at Yankee Stadium. They're at Oracle Park in San Francisco, which is a new name for it, where if you hit it out over the wall, it goes into the water.
That's a
Which that would be an Aaron Judge bunt. So now let's bring in Andrew Giuliani, whose middle name is Harold. He's named for my dad, whose actual name was Araldo. Then the English version was Harold, and he was born in 1908. So Andrew, how are you?
Well, I'm good, Dad. I guess I never had the opportunity to meet your dad, my grandfather, but obviously heard so much about him, not just from you, but from so many others, and his sense of humor, his toughness, his fortitude. And it's one of those things where I think about that sometimes with my daughter, with Grace, who is climbing behind me right now.
I see some blonde hair. Behind you there. It's not a mop, right?
Yeah. And I think about how, while we never got time together on this earth, a lot of people say that we share many of the same qualities.
You do.
And I think about that with my mother-in-law and my daughter, Grace, who I feel like has many of the same qualities as well. So obviously I'm
proud of you.
I wish I had time on this earth with them,
Well,
but
I can tell
know
you
at
this:
some
he'd
point
be
we will.
extraordinarily proud of you, like I am. So, do you? We're sort of. This is the Yankees' first game of the season. I think maybe you and I spent a little time at Yankee Stadium.
Just a little bit of time at Yankee Stadium. Oh my goodness. There was probably a stretch where it had to be, I don't know, 15 opening days where we went together to them. I'm sure you had even a longer streak than I did, but I think about all those incredible memories. And actually, I think about that a lot in my job now with everything that's going on in the country and in the world, and obviously how important domestic policy is and everything that's happening in Iran. But you think about what sports can actually do to bring people together. There really is no platform like sports when it's not used for political purposes to be able to go and take people regardless of their political background or their religious background or their beliefs and bring people together under, one jersey or one country,
There she is.
I guess she takes after her dad, right? Likes to be on camera even when it's not their time. So
Every once in a while, I look at that just for fun. So explain to everyone what I kind of explain what you do, but you're in charge of, and your team is in charge of security for how many events in the United States?
Sure. It's the White House Task Force for the World Cup. There'll be 78 games in the United States, another 26 games in Canada and Mexico. Our jurisdiction obviously ends at the northern and southern borders. But with 78 games over 40 days, it really is the largest sporting event that America's ever had. And I know I've said this before, but I think it's really important to highlight when you look at the Super Bowl numbers. About 130 million people watch the Super Bowl. There are over 2 billion people projected to watch the World Cup final. Maybe aside from the Olympic opening ceremonies.
Final? Just the final?
Just the final alone. So viewership across the 78 games, you're looking at television and streaming viewership of, well over 10 billion people. That's probably a pretty conservative number. And I think just the demand for these games, I think it's important to point out that in the 78 games in the United States, 77 of the 78 of them have over 1 million ticket requests. Remember, these are American football stadiums. So you're talking 70, 80,000 people. So, I mean, literally the world is descending upon the United States here. And it's one of the main reasons why Homeland Security needs to open up now. The Democrats need to stop playing games, and they need to realize what's coming to their shores here in 76 short days. And the Department of Homeland Security needs to be open because it is a key nucleus at keeping the country safe over the course of this summer, where it's not just the World Cup, it's also Freedom 250. It's our 4th of July. It's all the incredible events around our semi-quincentennial. So it's key.
So are your people coming to work?
Yeah, we're coming to work. We push to make sure that they're exempted, and it's really, they're an exemplary group of people. I mean, a lot of our people are detailed over from the military. And, I wouldn't say they're living necessarily paycheck to paycheck, but after the second paycheck, things start to hurt when you're looking at rent. So, I mean, I've come to admire the people of the department and so many of our ICE and CBP agents. And I know they're getting funded, so that's probably not the best example, but our Coast Guard, our TSA, so many people that work extremely hard every day to try to make the country a safer place on the front lines. And forget about not even getting the thanks, but they won't even, Democrats will barely vote on whether or not they should be funded. So
there's 78 games. And then you said there were some after that? There are other games?
So you'll have 78 games in the United States. You'll also have 13 games in Canada and 13 games in Mexico as well. So it's really spanning the entire continent, from Boston to Los Angeles and Seattle to Miami and everywhere in between. So there's really the scope of this. While the 1994 World Cup, which you were mayor of the city for in your first year, was the same scope, at least from our country's perspective. The game has grown so much in the last 30 plus years. Back then, it was 24 teams playing in the World Cup. It's now up to 48 teams, 48 different countries. You're looking at, over 5 million international visitors that are going to be visiting here. As the TSA administrator highlighted today during her testimony, for every single TSA agent who quits starting now, that means one less TSA agent that will be on the front lines for this, because it takes 4 to 6 months to train up new TSA agents. So you can't replace these people. And you're seeing now 450 TSA agents quit. I think the stats that I've seen is that for every 2 weeks, those numbers continue to double. So we got the largest travel summer in our country's history. Like I said, between Freedom 250 and the World Cup, we need Homeland Security to be open so that way this can be a successful and safe event.
I mean, this is it's an impossible situation. When is the first game, Andrew?
June 11th. 76 days away.
Basically around the corner, really.
Yeah.
Now, these will be played at American football stadiums by and large?
Yes. So Boston and Foxborough, New York, New Jersey, and the Meadowlands, Philadelphia, where the Eagles play, and so on and so on.
Do you have that courthouse and prison open in the Philadelphia Stadium? Remember when we were there and they were booing us on the way out after they won, and you said they're sore winners?
I do. I'm hoping that it's so funny. I've got a college roommate who's an Eagles fan, and we bust each other's chops
All,
all the time. I'm hoping that jail's just gonna not have to be used except but for the Eagle fans in the fall. So hopefully our soccer fans will be. But look, as we know, soccer fans are extremely, we'll call them passionate over here. So they are, from a security standpoint, it's a fascinating problem set because they're different than American football fans. Even take the way that, generally soccer fans will travel to the games. American football fans, for the most part, they'll come and they'll tailgate, they'll drive their car, they'll leave. But a lot of the fans that are coming, they're coming from out of the country. They're going to use mass transit. They're going to be traveling very differently. And as you know, if you're taking transit, let's say from Kennedy Airport and need to get out to New Jersey, those are 3 different transit systems that you're working on just to get to the stadium. And then you might end up going and taking Amtrak down to Philadelphia or up to Boston. And that's a 4th transit system. And then it starts all over when you go to that new city with a language barrier, by the way.
With the the 1 million per game, and only 80,000 seats. Do you anticipate getting people that are going to come and just hang around the city to get the atmosphere? In other words, go to the bars and the places where it's being shown. I bet that'll happen. You're going to probably get a lot of excess people who are hoping they can scalp tickets or get scalp tickets or whatever, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's been a big part of kind of maximizing the economic opportunity that is this World Cup, while also making sure that, we properly vet everybody who's coming into the country. We want to make sure that this is a great event. This is something that, people can really celebrate, that we see the economic output. Right now, they're projecting over $30 billion in economic output just from the World Cup fans. Forget about America 250, Freedom 250, all those incredible things around our 250th birthday. But we also want to make sure, and one of the things we're focused on is on the task force as well, along with the safety and security, is the legacy aspect of that. So that way, American small businesses are prepared to receive these soccer fans that are, ready to come in and spend their hard-earned income here in the United States. Also, it's a great opportunity, and this is what President Trump and I talk about a lot whenever we do cover the World Cup. It's a great opportunity to be able to really show off American exceptionalism. You think about a lot of the people may have heard fantastic lies about what the United States of America is, maybe through the media, right? Through the either European media or, heck, the American media in many ways. This is a great opportunity for people who may be experiencing the United States for the first time, or maybe for the first time in 30 years or whenever it is, to be able to see just how great the United States of America is firsthand. We know it, we see it, but it's important that they get the opportunity to see that as well.
The other part of it, and I guess I can say this as the former mayor of New York, a lot of them will get to see beyond New York, Washington, and LA.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people from Asia tend to think LA is America, and people from Europe and Africa tend to think New York is the U.S. And they have that map where you have New York, a little piece of there, and then L.A. And but people get to see other cities, which I don't even know we have.
Yeah, yeah. I think
some of them are. I mean, a lot of them are beautiful cities.
Yeah. One of the great stories is Kansas City. Kansas City is going to be hosting games, and not only are they going to be hosting games, but Argentina will be base camping there. England will be base camping outside of Kansas City. The Dutch will as well. I mean, so you're talking some major soccer countries that will be coming in. And Kansas City, to their credit, they've created an expo type environment where their businesses can go and be able to show off to not just the diplomats that are coming in, the heads of state that are coming in, but also all the Argentinian business leaders that are coming in to be able to show off their workforce, maybe in a place that, most Argentinians might not have necessarily on their map here, but they'll have the opportunity to be able to show off the best of Kansas City and the Kansas, Missouri area. Same thing in Dallas, right? I mean, you think about it. Dallas is a great city, but it's a very American city. The fact that it's hosting this global event, you're going to have different soccer fans from different countries come in that would maybe go to New York, or maybe they would go to Miami, but might not necessarily go to Dallas or Houston. It's a great opportunity for them to be able to show off.
Both Dallas and
Dallas and Houston will be hosting as well. Kansas City, that'll make up the central region. You'll have Miami, Atlanta, Philadelphia, New York, and Boston.
They have different teams that are home teams in those. So there are a group of teams that are located in Boston, a group in New York, a group in Philadelphia, a group in Kansas City, a group in Dallas. Is that right?
Yeah, and for the most part, FIFA has looked and they've kind of broken it down where if you're on the East Coast, you'll stay on the East Coast. If you're on the West Coast, you'll stay on the West Coast. And if you're in the Central, you'll either stay in the Central or maybe you'll move to one coast or maybe to the other. They want to cut down on flight time so that way it's competitive balance, if you will. So it's certainly interesting to see how they do it. At some point, what we'll have to do is we'll have to go up with the whole matrix of the 78 games, where everything is, so you can get a real good look and see exactly how all this stuff is planned out and some of the challenges that some teams present in terms of maybe some of their fan bases moving from this location to that location, and also the security around that as well. I mean, one of the things that I've talked with President Trump about is the fact that the Iranian team has qualified to play in the World Cup, and he has written in his executive order that the Iranian team will be exempt to come into the country and play. Now, that doesn't mean that ticket holders or, that maybe fans will have the opportunity. But he's reiterated that he wants the team to be able to come in and play, understanding that there's a real key security nexus to that, and making sure that that we are prepared for what that actually means, both from a vetting perspective, but also what it can mean for the Iranian diaspora here in the United States, right? I mean, it's a great opportunity, if you think about it, for Iranian Americans to be able to celebrate maybe some of their newfound freedoms here.
Goodness, of course. Are they going to be located in LA?
So they'll be based on the West Coast. They're playing games, I know, in Seattle and in Los Angeles as well. Yes,
because there's a tremendous Iranian community on the West Coast, in Los Angeles, larger than New York. Although I never think there's anything larger than New York.
Well, and you can see in talking to the Iranian Americans that I have in the Los Angeles area, they are probably, in the last 4 weeks, they're even more excited to come out and celebrate their country, hopeful that that it's the Republic of Iran and not the Islamic Republic of Iran.
That'd be really, really nice. So when is the final? The last time the semifinals were played in New York, and Italy and went to the finals.
That's right.
And that was played in Los Angeles.
That's right. That's right, in the Rose Bowl. So they said that Mayor Rudolph Giuliani did such a good job with the semifinals back in 1994 that they're giving New York, New Jersey the finals. Now, I don't know if they foresaw that Zohran Mamdani would be the mayor at the time, but that's just what I heard.
Well, luckily it's in New Jersey.
It is in New Jersey. You're right.
So the finals, the single final game will be in New York, but a lot of other games before that.
Yeah, you'll have, I think it's 6 games leading up to the finals in New York. Dallas and Atlanta will host semifinal matches, but Dallas will host 9 games throughout the course of the tournament. So, again, when we say this is really a 40-day event, it's a 40-day event. And you think about the Olympics, which, the whole world watches the Summer Olympics. We just got done watching the Winter Olympics. That's 16 days. You have the Paralympics afterwards, certainly, which draws a lot of attention as well. But it's basically a 16-day stretch. This is more than double, 2.5 times the amount and the size. Whereas the Olympics will be focused on Los Angeles in 2028, with some other events outside of Los Angeles. This is the entire continent. So it really gives you an idea of the scope and scale of it.
So it's going to start June 11th?
Starts June 11th. That's right. It'll kick off June 11th. Actually kicks off in Mexico on June 11th. June 12th, it will kick off in Los Angeles with the U.S. team competing against Paraguay.
And then it ends in July. And July, what's the final is when? July?
July 19th. July 19th. So,
whoa.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, get some sleep, Andrew.
Well,
once again, tell you your grandfather is looking down on you, and of course, Nanny. And there's your beautiful. Hey, Grace.
Grace, come here. You want to come say hello? We're talking about my grandpa. We're talking about Pop-Pop's.
There's my Grace.
Pop-Pop's dad.
What do you have?
And we're talking your great grandpa.
What do you have on, Grace? What is that? The outfit.
Tennis dress and a golf dress.
Tennis and golf. We're getting ready for sports. So.
Oh, yeah. Who plays golf?
Who plays golf?
Who plays golf?
Do you play golf? Do you play golf?
Does Daddy play golf? Yeah.
Do you know what Daddy's name is? It's Andrew Harold Giuliani. So today was your great-grandfather's birthday.
Yep.
Was Pop-Pop's dad's birthday. And that's who I'm named after. That's who I'm named after.
See, I got my pen here. We can do some drawing when you come down, all right? Is our store open?
Store open?
Mm-hmm.
Is the store
Good.
open? Okay, I may have to buy something. All right.
I like the...
No, it's not.
Love you.
Can we say we love you? Love you, Pop-Pop.
All right.
And love you, Grandpa.
Take care. Give my love to Z too. All right.
Thank you. Thanks, Dad.
Thank you. I hope you get some sleep between now and June 11, Ted. Well, that was a good rundown. I a lot of people, there's so much going on.
Right.
Back like even 7 or 8 months ago, there was more attention on this than now.
Right, because everything else
Even
happened.
I think the opening of baseball isn't getting the attention it usually gets because there's so
much going on.
like it just snuck up on us that baseball was opening.
Right.
That baseball was opening tonight. This is going to be quite a. I meant to say to Andrew. I mean, I used to do this work for countries, advised them on the Asian Games, the Olympics, other events like this. And I always remember beginning by telling them, even when it was part of the bid or whatever, please conceptualize the fact that when you take an Olympics or a World Cup or these regional games, even like the Asian Games and the whatever teams are participating, whatever countries are participating, you're bringing all their problems to your city. They're all focused on your city. And if they have groups, even terrorist groups and activist groups and disgruntled groups and troublemaking groups that we don't generally think about and that would have nothing to do with us. Or let's say in the case of Brazil or Qatar or places Greece, places I've done it. Those problems come to you. So you better worry about the Bas separatists if Spain is playing. You probably don't have to worry about them most of the time, but you better worry about them. You better know about them. You better have connections with the intelligence authorities and police authorities in Spain and at their border. It's a very complex situation. And he's been working on this now for over a year. Very large staff, very expert staff. And how they're working for no pay. What great Americans. That, Ted? So let's take a short break and then we'll catch up on the other things that we want to make sure that you have some context other than the fake news. Here we are, pretty much at the beginning of the process here at this pristine, I call it a laboratory, or it's not like a factory, it's like a hospital. This is the beginning of the process for roasting. Deep grain, very good quality. Most people don't use this quality. We deal with small farmers because they like to know who we're dealing with. They give us the highest quality, all organic, non-GMO. You should know all Arabica beans, no Robusto, all Arabica. They're going to go into the roaster and it'll get roasted for about 20 minutes or so. Oh my goodness, look at these. My goodness. You're going to want to specially order these. This is what goes into Rudy's coffee.
Are you ready for some action?
I'm ready for action.
Get the Elite TV plan only through the portal. 218 channels, and it's only $69.95 a month,
Wow.
including your free portal.
That's cheaper than everyone else.
Your favorite sports, movies, news,
Wow.
even daytime dramas. We're talking about ESPN, OAN, Newsmax,
Wow.
channels you can't get anymore in certain areas.
Compared to the competition, this is a way better deal.
Endless selection. Not to mention all the free music channels. There's over 700 premium and classic movies all ready to go.
Wow.
Plus, they got catch-up TV that allows you to go back and watch what you've missed or want to watch again. Cut your cable in half and get twice as much for free.
Way more channels for half the cost.
After the first year, the subscription then drops to $57.95 monthly,
Wow.
where you change or upgrade anytime. Go to QUXNow.com and get yours today. Use promo code RUDY. Act fast. These deals are selling out.
Well, this is Rudy Giuliani back again with the Yankee Stadium still behind me because of our nice sports talk with Andrew about, a different sport, but one we're going to be learning a lot about. I think a lot of Americans are. I remember Andrew goes back, to 94 when I was the mayor, and New York hosted, many of the World Cup games. One of the early games was Italy and Ireland, and you can imagine in New York what that was like. It was completely sold out. Half Italy, half Ireland. There are more than a fair share of New Yorkers that are half Irish and half Italian, including godchildren of mine, friends of mine, even my children. So it was a fascinating event, and we decided to give a big party at Gracie Mansion for the Irish and the Italians, half and half. So I think it ended up in a tie, which was effectively a loss for the Italians. They were basically undefeated in the World Cup, went to the finals and lost, but they had one tie, and that was to Ireland. So Ireland effectively overperformed. So at the party, all of the Irish dignitaries and New York Irish who were there and American Irish were very, very happy. And the Italians were all spent most of their time grumbling. That all changed a month later when Italy won the semifinal in the same place. I don't remember who they defeated to go on, but in any event, they won it. So this year it's going to be double the number. We had 24. It's going to be 48. It's going to be a great thing for America, but it's going to also be quite an event. So thank God my son is doing it. He's very, very good. And I have to tell you, as a father, I'm sorry, but I just want to get this thing off here. As a father, my pride is just, oh well. So let's lay this out on with regard to by the way, the Yankees are winning 5-0, which is making me very calm and relaxed and happy. And all I have to have Ted do now is explain to me how we got the 5 runs, and just sort of get us up to date on
how this happened, huh?
Yeah, how
5 runs in the top of the second, and there was including a triple.
No home run.
Let's see if we got any.
This is a home run team. You got to remember this is a home run team. All right, 5-0, 2 outs. And right now they have Jazz Chisholm Jr., who's a cool guy, mic'd up, and he's talking. He's actually talking technically.
6 consecutive Yankees got on base, 5 hits and a hit batsman.
And that's how they got it?
That's how they got it.
That you have. So what's the vibe for you guys right now?
So, if you can hear that, they're talking to Chaz Chisholm, who is in the field.
We're like a family in the clubhouse, bro. So like, it's sick to see everybody come back, you know, and
Can you
have
hear
the
it?
same team, and we already know what we can do, you know, and we hold each other accountable, and that's the best thing about it. And we knew where we messed up a little bit last year, you know. Yeah, having that chemistry is huge. You know, having the same guys. You know,
while he's playing.
Knowing the personalities, knowing that you can't get on, you can't get on.
That's interesting. That's new.
Yeah. Jazz,
I don't think I would like that if I was a manager. I wouldn't put a microphone on my player.
Right?
It'd be funny if they hit a ball to him and he says something, right?
Right.
Or if he misses it. Oh,
Can you imagine if that? Yeah. We'll see how long that lasts.
so Taiwan is there's this article saying that Taiwan is worried about Trump being unpredictable. Now, I don't know if Taiwan is worried or the Wall Street Journal is worried, but that's the article. And they're worried that Xi could talk Trump into making concessions to China. And remember, at the very beginning of the administration, Taiwan first one of their most successful businessmen, C.C. Wei, came over to Mar-a-Lago and pledged. I think he started at 50, ended up at 100 billion. But most importantly, he pledged to build in Arizona, which he is now doing, companies that make extraordinarily powerful chips. He is the owner of Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing. Now, Taiwan has a monopoly, in effect, on the most complex chips in the world, considerably more complex than China. China makes more, but China makes simple ones, the ones that you use for most everything. Taiwan makes them for the supercomputers, for the massive, gigantic AI operations. And they are the best in the world. And we have at times used that as leverage against China. But if you think about it, having it all located in Taiwan poses a bit of a national security problem. So at this point, based on this deal that was made, and then many after that, we should be in a position before Trump leaves office, rather quickly, I would say, to be able to mimic what they're doing in Taiwan, so that if, God forbid, they attempt to take it out in Taiwan, we'll have it here in America. And as far as I can tell, most of these are joint enterprises between the United States and Taiwan. Now, last year, the United States did a very, very favorable arms deal, Trump did, with Taiwan, and Xi Jinping went crazy. And there's one pending right now. And President hasn't decided on it yet. And I think Taiwan is worried about that. And they're worried about the meeting between Xi Jinping and the president. I would like to calm down my friends in Taiwan. I have a great deal of affection for Taiwan. It goes back to when I was a child, an anti-communist, and it goes back to the Reagan administration. And I understand how hard they fought for their own democracy. They began. The nationalist Chinese came in and took over the island of Taiwan. Now, you should know, much like Putin writes his own phony history, China says that Taiwan is part of China. It has never been part of China. In fact, the first time any appreciable number of Chinese have lived on Taiwan is now. And they are the nationalist Chinese who fled China after they were defeated by the communists. And there are a lot of them. And when they came in, they sort of imposed a dictatorship of sorts on Taiwan. And it took 15 or 20 years to develop a really, really strong democracy, which they now have, and an extraordinary economy for a country like that small, and in one area critical to the world, the chips. So this is a country not to be taken lightly. And I think they feel that maybe Trump will take them lightly. I can assure you he doesn't. He understands the value of these chips. He understands the value of a very, very strong ally like Taiwan. If you look carefully, he has been developing allies in that area of the world for Taiwan as well as the United States. What do you think all the work with Japan and the Philippines is about? What do you think that whole trip through Laos and Vietnam and Malaysia and Cambodia was all about? Try to, as much as possible, break them away from China. That area of the world might, in a rather short period of time, particularly if Japan steps up, be better able to defend itself than Europe is, and certainly a lot more courageous about it. The idea that an amphibious invasion by China on Taiwan is a gimme is that China doesn't think it's a gimme. China understands what they're up against. And they also understand that at least as far as the present makeup of the Japanese government, they may have to face Japan as well as possibly the Philippines, Taiwan, and the United States. The president has said that Xi Jinping will not take Taiwan on his watch. Count on it. Also, let's see if we can solidify Taiwan so they're not going to take it on anybody's watch, even if we get another traitor, has been crooked president. I have to say a few words about Rick Pitino. Since we talked about sports, that I am looking over here at the Yankee game. It's now in the sixth inning, I believe. Is it the sixth inning? And
No, it surprised me. It's the third.
What?
Third.
Only the third inning?
Top of the third. 8 o'clock start.
Oh, I guess that inning was a long inning, right?
Yeah, 5 runs.
So here's a new young Yankee. It's probably his second year. He had 28, 29 home runs last year in a abbreviated season. He's a very good player. The Yankees expect him to be a super player. They expect that this guy should have a breakout season. He's got power. He's also got power on the left-hand side of the plate, which makes him extraordinarily dangerous in Yankee Stadium. He was the third. In a percentage of hard hit balls last year, behind Guerrero and Soto, which will give you something. But he just struck out. But it is baseball. So Rick Pitino is a legendary basketball coach and a legendary New Yorker, and somebody I know, and somebody I admire, and somebody I really like. And he has taken a legendary New York basketball team that used to be a rival of my college when they had a very good basketball team, and they occasionally still do. But when I was there, they would they made the NIT tournament every year, which was a big tournament then. It which St. John's has won now 2 years in a row. And they also made the NCAA tournament at least twice. But St. John's was always, for the longest time, the best of the teams in New York, or the college teams in New York. There was a period of time where NYU, CUNY, the City University, St. John's, Fordham, Manhattan were all excellent teams. Sort of changed over time. Every once in a while, one will come along, but St. John's has been consistently the best. However, they ran into a really bad streak for the last 15 or so years. So Pitino has brought them back. He's brought them back to the point where, I should have asked Andrew about this. Maybe we'll put him on again just for this, because on Friday, St. John's is going to play Duke. And Duke is one of the favorites to win the whole thing. So St. John's is 30-6. They just beat Kansas at the buzzer to get into the tournament. They haven't been in the tournament since 1999, which is quite a timeout. And whatever the heck you think of Rick, he can sure coach. He's been the head coach at Boston University, Providence, and they were good. The Knicks, and they weren't. Kentucky, the Celtics, Louisville, Panathinaikos, which was in Greece, Iona, and St. John's now. And St. John's had a legendary coach named Lou Carnesecca, who died some time ago. And he has brought back that Lou Carnesecca spirit. He's won 2 Big East tournaments to get them ready for this. He won it this year with a 20-point defeat of Connecticut. And of course, he's not doing it without some great players, like Zuba Ejiofor, who might be the defensive player of the year in the Big East. And Pitino is an old-fashioned coach. He wears a suit, a tailor-made suit, beautiful one, a beautiful tie, and he wants his players to be extremely well-dressed and extremely well-mannered. Now, he is much younger. He's 71, I think. He's much older than the younger coaches. But in the tournament, there are 2 coaches that are roughly his age. Tom Izzo at Michigan State, 71 years old. And John Calipari, who he's coached against forever, right? He's coached against John forever, who's 67 years old.
There's Pitino and Carnesecca.
That's Lou Carnesecca in the great old days. Old days.
Back the sweater.
Well, you showed him with a sweater on and not his suit. It contradicted
He
me.
was known for the sweater, though.
On certain times, that's true. So, getting back to the hot point in the world, Saudi Arabia is starting to get very upset with Iranian attacks, which included today, and the foreign minister Faisal Ben Farhan said yesterday that Saudi Arabia's patience with Iranian attacks is not unlimited. And in the UAE, although they haven't taken military action yet, they have seized all Iranian assets, which is tough. The UAE is a very rich country. I wish Qatar would do the same thing to them. And now Abu Dhabi is considering freezing billions of dollars of Iranian holdings. And what I'd really like to see is for someone to put their air forces up in the air. And I think if they keep doing it, they keep doing it, they will. But it's the same thing with the G7. So the G7 now, that means all the ones who basically turned us down, right? Originally. United Kingdom, France, Germany, Italy, Netherlands, and Japan. So they have all agreed to get together to jointly police the Straits of Hormuz. However, and to allow for safe passage. And they're ready to contribute. And they describe it as ready to contribute to appropriate efforts. Now that's the catch. Some of them want the hostilities to end first. Well, thank you. I mean, that's great. You want to come in after the war. It's like what Russia did with Japan. After we defeated Japan, Russia joined the war. Well, I think maybe they should wake up. In a way, you would have thought that Iran woke them up when they flew 2 missiles to the Diego Garcia Air Base, which is technically on a British island, but an American air base. Now, they didn't quite get there, but they went about 2,000 miles, which would cover a lot of Europe. And they did show a few weaknesses, like one got shot down and the other got lost, which is good for us. But it does tell you what they're trying to do. And it makes the idea that Trump was premature in doing this war kind of ridiculous, doesn't it? I mean, they've been sitting there well below ground, which we're kind of digging out with these bombs for the last couple of years, particularly, trying to extend their nuclear capacity beyond Israel and the Arab countries. Right now, with 60% enriched uranium hidden away, which we have to get, it would put them about a month to a month and a half off from just immediately developing 11 to 12 nuclear weapons. Now, until recently, we thought they had delivery systems that limited them to the Middle East. Right before this war started, the MEK had a press conference and released a report showing that in the desert, east of Tehran, they have been working furiously in underground silos on extending their delivery systems. And this was the first real indication of it. Part of our attack, the first attack, was to take out a lot of those delivery systems. Well, quite obviously, we didn't take them all out because they were able to send one 2,000 miles. Okay, it didn't hit, but that doesn't mean that'll always happen. As we found out at the beginning of this war, they were considerably less accurate at the beginning than Iran is now. They're not anywhere near as accurate as we are, but they're scoring more hits than they did before. So we did this just in time. Just in time. It's really, really sick that we waited this long, but okay, we did. And now let's see if we can't, if we can't wake up, as the New York Post says. The Allies, it says the Allies wake up, but they haven't really, because jointly declared their readiness to contribute to appropriate efforts. What does that mean? Appropriate efforts. It means where they won't get shot at. This is what a lot of them do in NATO, and I know they got angry at Trump for saying it, but somebody had to say it. A lot of these guys in NATO would send troops that didn't fight. A lot did fight. And I'll tell you for sure, UK, Canada, Australia. But a lot of them, and they're doing the same garbage again. I don't know what you have to do to wake them up to the, they have never been there on the threat from Iran, which in some ways has inhibited us from taking the action we'd like to take because we don't have the support that we should have. Even here, we don't. Trump is kind of doing this with Israel and the United States for the whole world. Iran has attacked 20 countries, but there are only 2 countries attacking Iran. Isn't there something wrong with that? There has to be something I'm missing there. So so there are differences between us and our European allies. I don't know which ones are with us all the way. I am hoping, I think Japan is. Japan has a constitutional problem that she says she's going to overcome about participating in war and what's defined as a war. And now they're starting this thing that if Trump takes out the energy facilities of Iran, that'll be a war crime because it'll be an attack on the civilian population. Well, Iran has already taken out the water facilities in Qatar. Isn't that an attack on the civilian population? Not only that, there's no justification for it. Qatar is not at war with Iran. Iran's at war with us. They're killing us. They're trying to kill Americans. They have killed 13 Americans. They're at war with Israel. They're at war with the whole region. They need energy to conduct that war. Our depriving them of energy is part of the war effort. And then the effect on the civilians is collateral. It's also part of opening passage in the Strait of Hormuz, which is necessary for the safety and security of the whole world. Any damage to civilians they're causing by conducting this war. Qatar wasn't causing the damage that Iran did to them. Who the hell is talking about war crimes for Iran? None of those G7 people are. And the Arab countries aren't fighting back. I don't get it. You let them hit your country, kill your people, and you don't send a damn plane up? No wonder you lost every war with Israel. Well, of course, there are differences between the U.S. and Iran on these 15 points. I almost can't think of one that Iran actually agrees to. The splits between the U.S. and the rest of the G7 industrialized nation about the wisdom of launching the attack on Iran will be laid bare at a 2-day meeting, which starts tomorrow, I think, in Paris. And that'll be attended by Secretary of State Marco Rubio. The Iran conflict is going to be discussed on Friday. France, Germany, Italy, the UK, Canada, and Japan have all said in different language that they do not support what they regard as an unlawful and unnecessary war. Well, I'm not sure they've said that, but I don't know what's unlawful about taking out their energy when they've taken out the water supply of Qatar. And they've hit energy facilities in Israel and all throughout the Arab world. And except for Israel, none of them are at war with Qatar. So I don't know where this is going to go by the end of the week. I have my suspicions. Iran says that the Straits of Hormuz are open. Yep. They're open to all countries but the United States, Israel, or anybody cooperating with them. There is a troubling article in the Wall Street Journal, and I guess you have to take it a little seriously. It says that that the president hasn't really sold this war to the American people. That when it started, it didn't have public approval, and the public approval has gone down. Now, that is not true of his supporters. Among people who describe themselves as MAGA supporters, it has virtually 100% approval. But of course, they're 30%, 35% of the population, and that's about where the approval number is, at about 30 to 40%. And according to the polls, taken for what they're worth, 1/4 of the Americans who voted for him in 2024 are against this war. Now, the point made by William A. Goldstone, who's a frequent critic of the president, is that to conduct a war, you need public support. That doesn't mean, as he points out, doesn't mean that you're not going to take controversial actions that are not supported when you have to protect your country. But then you're going to do everything you can to convince your people. Leaders in a republic must seek to mold public sentiment to convince an often skeptical populace that a controversial course of action is justified. Persuasion, Lincoln rightly believed, isn't an ornament, but the heart of Republican leadership. And his criticism is that the president hasn't spent enough time laying out his rationale for this war, and hasn't offered a systematic and sustained case for the war, either before or after. And that goes beyond the 2026 election. I think Goldstone makes more of it than is there, but I do think it's a good warning that more time should be spent explaining the reason for this war and using the people in the administration to do that. Because this is this is not a hard case to make. This is a case where, if he's right, they've been out-messaged. The war has been necessary for 47 years, and at many points in that 47-year period, it would have been immensely popular to do this. And so, I really do think that a little more time has to be spent on explaining the rationale for it. Now, part of that gets confused because of the way in which the president, quite rightly, I think, conducts a war, which is to keep the enemy off guard. Now, keeping the enemy off guard means you can't tell us you can't tell us everything that's going on and why it's going on and when it's going on, the way we've done in the past, to our detriment. But the basic reasons for the war are not discussed often enough. The basic reasons for why we're conducting this war, the number of Americans that the Iranians have killed, the threat of a nuclear attack on Europe and then eventually on the United States. What are we going to wait until they're capable of doing it, like Clinton did with North Korea? Are we going to sit back and let Bin Laden? Sit back and do what we did with Bin Laden? Let him take out the coal. Let him kill American sailors. Do nothing, and then he figures, oh yeah, there's a sucker country. Let's take out the World Trade Center and the Capitol and the Pentagon. We haven't learned our lesson. We have, but we need to be reminded. And so I urge the administration. I know Secretary Rubio is very, very busy, but a couple of speeches from him about the necessity for this war and why it is critical and why we couldn't have waited any longer, and what it means in terms of saving lives, it would be very, very valuable to shape a public opinion so that their support for what's going to be necessary. This is not over. It's not getting over as easily as we think. This is still a very short war, but this is an insane country. If it was a sane country, we'd be able to make peace with it at this point. We've done enough damage to them, so they would be seeking peace. But these people are exactly what Ronald Reagan to Donald Trump said they are. They are suicidal religious maniacs, and they're acting like that. Well, let's take a look at the game again.
Middle of the bottom of the fourth inning, still 5-0.
Still 5-0.
That's right. The game is on Netflix. You gotta get Netflix to watch.
So let's do a breakdown of what happened today, and then we will sign off. So today, the major airstrikes that took place in Tehran, we hit missile production sites. In Isfahan, we took out the defense and optics facilities. And we also hit targets in Bandar Abbas, Shiraz, Yaz, and Karaj. We took out ballistic missile launch sites, 4 or 5 weapons factories, and a naval and submarine R&D center. And we may have taken out the entire Bushehr nuclear complex. That's while the ceasefire's on. Imagine if there was no ceasefire. Maybe this will describe it right here. So if you look at the red, Iran retaliation, by the way, was in Bahrain, where they killed a UAE security member. Remember, Bahrain is not a combatant. Bahrain is not fighting them. And Bahrain is a very, very small country that they just torture and have been for years. They made attacks on Saudi Arabia. I don't know how many were successful. We had 80 strikes, U.S. and Israel. They had 32 retaliatory strikes. 67 locations were hit with those 80 strikes. They had 32 strikes. They did some damage in 24 of the 32 strikes that they have made. And their emphasis, as you can see, if we take a good look, oh, you have that? I have a different one. So you can see that they have done a heck of a lot more. They've done a heck of a lot more attacks. This is Israel. In fact, it's Israel and a little Lebanon, but that's Israel. All the other blue ones are they're Arab countries, Muslim countries. They hit the UAE. They attempted to hit Riyadh, which is right there, the capital. Now these they have these 2 marked, but they were unsuccessful. And then here in Kuwait, it looks like they did not hit Syria. They will not hit Turkey. Turkey's sort of on their side. I think Turkey and Pakistan are the 2 that are pushing for them. Now, this is what we did. And you'll see that our attacks were in the area of Isfahan, Fordow. This also is Natanz right here. This is their nuclear center right there. And this is also where they enlarge the capacity of their delivery systems. Have we taken it all out? Well, we certainly hit a lot of them, but we also ended up hitting their newer areas right here. Well, let me separate that because this is a little different. These are a little different. This right here, those are major nuclear sites that were taken out. In fact, the Bush Hair nuclear complex is one of their biggest. I believe it's all gone. I believe. However, I want you to notice that a concentration of the hits, and I assume this is American, it could be Israel too. Notice here's the straits. It's all covered with attacks, right? They're attacking our side of the strait. We're attacking their side of the strait. But all along the shore of the Persian Gulf, you can see we're attacking. What are those? Those are all weapons that are used to hit ships that are going through the Gulf and going through the Strait of Hormuz. It looks like we're degrading their capacity there substantially, even before we get to some kind of a, overall solution. And also, if in fact we take over the island, which is about here, all of this gone will make it a lot safer and a lot easier for our paratroopers and for our Marines, if in fact that's what we do. So, yep, there's a lot of talk about diplomacy. No face-to-face meetings that I know of. The face-to-face meetings are all on this map. And there were over 100 of them where we attempted to kill them or they attempted to kill us. And as far as I can tell, their casualty rate, I see only one. Whereas when you look at what we did around Tehran, there had to be a substantial number of casualties. So we'll keep you posted on what's going on as we move along to Friday, which I think will be the day that tells the tale about what's going to happen here. You stay with us on X at 8 o'clock, on Lindell TV at 7, and we'll try to do the best we can to let you know what's really going on and how we interpret these things, because I think until the president has all his chess pieces in place, which probably isn't going to be until the weekend, we're not going to really know exactly what he's going to do. People say, well, maybe he doesn't know. Not true. That's not true. I mean, could he change his mind? Any president leaves himself that possibility if, God forbid, something happens that is different than I never made a decision until I made it. And there are some that I changed at the very end because I saw something that I didn't see before. But he right now, he's got an operating plan. He's just not telling us what it is, nor is he telling the enemy. And that does hurt in the area that the Wall Street Journal columnist was talking about, getting support for the war, because the more confusion there is, it looks like there isn't a plan. But if the plan is confusion, I think the way you solve that is not talk about necessarily in any great detail the war and how the war is conducted, but the reasons why we've had to have this war and why it was so necessary. And maybe we could get a couple of our allies to speak up on our behalf because we're saving their ass. I mean, they're getting hit, and we're doing all the retaliating for them. Well, pray for the people of Israel, and pray for the people of Iran, and pray, please, for all of the people who are in harm's way, people of Ukraine, who are helping us now with these drones that are going to make it both less expensive and allow for more coverage, particularly as more of our troops come into the area for defensive purposes. And pray for the people of the United States, of course, and our president. So, God bless America. It's our purpose to bring to bear the principle of common sense and rational discussion to the issues of our day. America was created at a time of great turmoil, tremendous disagreements, anger, hatred. There was a book written in 1776 that guided much of the discipline of thinking that brought to us the discovery of our freedoms, of our God-given freedoms. It was Thomas Paine's Common Sense, written in 1776, one of the first American bestsellers, in which Thomas Paine explained, by rational principles, the reason why these small colonies felt the necessity to separate from the Kingdom of Great Britain and the King of England. He explained their inherent desire for liberty, for freedom, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, the ability to select the people who govern them. And he explained it in ways that were understandable to all the people, not just the elite. Because the desire for freedom is universal. The desire for freedom adheres in the human mind, and it is part of the human soul. This is exactly the time we should consult our history. Look at what we've done in the past and see if we can't use it to help us now. We understand that our founders created the greatest country in the history of the world, the greatest democracy, the freest country, a country that has taken more people out of poverty than any country ever. All of us are so fortunate to be Americans. But a great deal of the reason for America's constant ability to self-improve is because we're able to reason, we're able to talk, we're able to analyze. We are able to apply our God-given common sense. So let's do it.